Good evening. I hereby call this annual town meeting to order. Welcome to the 2025 Town of Hatfield Annual Town Meeting. I'm Bobby Betzel, your town moderator. Thank you all for coming here tonight for this important part of our town's operating process. This year across the state, numerous events and activities are being held to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. As we know, Massachusetts played a central role with the battles of Lexington and Concord, marking the beginning of the Revolution and our nation's independence. Here in Hatfield, our history dates back over 100 years longer, with our founding some 355 years ago in 1670. As part of that history is the tradition of town meeting, a process that represents one of the truest forms of democracy and which we should all be proud to be part of. Tonight is the opportunity for every Hatfield voter to be directly involved in the decisions that will shape both the short and long-term future of our town. It is a time-honored tradition that represents all that is good about democracy and every voter having their opportunity to be heard. While I've been thinking about my opening remarks for some time now, a large portion of this was written while traveling home from Washington, D.C. last week. Throughout several days of meetings around the Capitol with officials and legislators from across the country, I continually saw one consistent theme with every person. No matter the demographic, background, or political affiliation, each and every person listened and respected our conversations. We may not have always shared the same views and opinions on an item, but even then, there was productive discussion that took place. Tonight, it is important for us to remember that our process and discussions should have this same level of respect. While questions are always accepted and welcomed, and there is sure to be disagreement at times, this can and should always be done in a respectful manner. This includes respect for one another and respect for the process that has been in place for hundreds of years. As I stated in my opening remarks last year, we all walk in tonight as neighbors who want the best for our town, and we will all walk out of here the same at the end of the night. So please remember this. A few words on the procedures for tonight, all of which have remained the same from the past. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand to be acknowledged and make your way to the microphone one at a time. We do also have a portable mic available if necessary. Just please let us know. If it is your first time at the mic, please state your name and the street that you live on. We don't need the actual address. This way we have it for the record, and that way people may know if it impacts an article. When speaking, please remember to face forward to the stage and address your remarks up front and not to the audience. Out of respect for time and opportunity, we will continue to ask that you please only speak a maximum of 2 times on any article. And please also be cognizant of the length of time that you're speaking. We do have a very full agenda again, and as in the past, out of respect for everyone's time, if we approach 10 p.m. and still have a significant amount of agenda left, we will need to continue to another night. Now, before we begin, I would like to introduce several of our town officials who you may hear from this evening and who helped a large part of preparations for tonight. To my immediate right, Town Clerk Elena Wilcox. Working, checking folks in the back here, Assistant Town Clerk Karen Karowski. Also to my right, thank you to Alan Seawald, who is here sitting in for Town Council Tom Mullen. Further to my right, in his first town meeting with the town of Hatfield, our new town administrator, welcome Andrew Levine. To my left, Select Board Chair Diana Zinel and members Ed Jaworski and Greg Gagnon. Further to my left, Finance Committee Chair Sean Barry and members Darrell Williams, John Wilkes Jr., and David Keir. Others that are in the crowd or are not here this evening, Town Treasurer Collector Tammy Wendelowski, Town Accountant Elizabeth Bracchia, Executive Assistant Karen Brodeur, School Superintendent Dr. Connor Driscoll and School Committee Chair Christy Boudreau, Fire Chief Bob Flaherty and Police Chief Mike DeKoschek. and Highway Superintendent Gary Barry, Water Superintendent Tony Listowski, and Sewer Superintendent Kenny Holhut. And I will say, as in the past, we have several department heads who are not registered voters of Hatfield. If necessary, I have asked them to please be able to come up and speak if necessary to address the articles that are relevant to their department. I would also like to thank our entire town staff, all the town employees, and everyone who serves on a board or committee in the town of Hatfield. It truly does take a joint effort from so many people, and there is so much time and effort put in by so many people behind the scenes that we do not see every day. Thank you all for your time and efforts. It does not go unnoticed. Now I'd like to turn things over to Diana for a few brief announcements.
Thank you, Bobby. And how about some appreciation for our moderator who's stepped in and doing such a great job. Thank you, Bobby. So tonight's town report was handed out, and there are two special acknowledgements in here that I would like to recognize. As an in memoriam, we would like to recognize Jerry Clark. Jerry Clark was the town of Hatfield's Veteran Service Officer from 2014 to 2022. Mr. Clark gave all to his position as VSO for the town of Hatfield. Mr. Clark would visit veterans during his own time, making sure the veterans had all they needed. Mr. Clark was a member of the Hatfield American Legion for over 50 years, as well as the Northampton Lodge of Elks, the Northampton Veterans Council, and the Disabled American Veterans, to name a few of the organizations. Mr. Clark has been sorely missed within the town of Hatfield. Despite all his sufferings from his time in the United States Army, Mr. Clark always had a smile on his face, was always pleasant to everyone, and would give you the shirt off his back. So we really thank Jerry for all of his years and dedication to the veterans of Hatfield. This year's town report dedication, I'm so happy to say, is we are dedicating this to Marlene Mashansky, who wrapped up many years of service in Hatfield. So during her tenure, Hatfield benefited greatly from her expertise, her leadership, and her dedication. Marlene's knowledge of municipal practices and procedures, combined with her incredible organizational skills and vision, was invaluable to Hatfield. Marlene was the town of Hatfield's administrator for 18 of her 35 years in municipal work. She enjoyed speaking with residents and would often go down to the Council on Aging and have lunch with the seniors or help with the brown bag lunches. Marlene not only gave her time and energy to the town, but she frequently made donations to the Council on Aging as well. Over her tenure in Hatfield, Marlene served on many boards and committees. On any given day, as the sun was setting, you would find Marlene in her office still working away on grants to benefit the town. She was a hard worker who gave her best. Marlene retired at the end of December 2024. She is greatly missed. She was not only a wonderful employee, but a wonderful person. We wish Marlene the very best in the next chapter of her life. Marlene is here and would like to just say a few words.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for this recognition. It truly means a lot to me. When Andrew called me yesterday, I was like, that can't be right. But I will say it means a lot to me. It's very special. And I am going to enjoy some of this evening sitting over there. Thank you, everyone. And I know some of you I have either worked with, talked with over the years, and I've appreciated all the help from boards and committees and departments and the staff as well. Thank you so much.
I want to echo the remarks. You know, I actually worked with Marlene, I think the first time, I might have been in high school. I don't know if that's worse for you or I, but I know I've worked with Marlene for many years in many different capacities, and she truly was a huge resource for this town, and again, also always did it in a very classy and professional and respectful manner. So thank you, Marlene, and congratulations again. With that being said, let's begin. As in the past, we will use the consent agenda process to combine Articles 2 through 4, as these are general annual articles that allow for the town to operate and accept funds from the state, hold elections, and the treasurer to operate. Of course, any questions on any of them is fine.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Articles 2 to 4.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Articles 2 through 4 in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to apply for, accept, and expend upon further appropriation any state and federal grants, gifts, and awards from the public or private source that become available in fiscal year 2026.
You've heard the motion made. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Authorize its treasurer, subject to the approval of the Select Board, to enter into its compensating balance agreement or agreements for fiscal year 2025 pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53F of the General Laws. Authorize the Select Board to enter into the memorandum of agreement with the Massachusetts Department of Public Works under General Laws, see Chapter 90 concerning the use of funds made available through the state's transportation bond issue.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Articles 2 through 4. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Articles 2 through 4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Articles 2 through 4 carry.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
is this on? I move we take up Article 5.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 5 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $97,077.54 from free cash to supplement the fiscal year 2025 snow and ice budget for unforeseen expenses.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 5. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Article 5 carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 6.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 6 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $27,741.80 from free cash to the opioid settlement fund.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 6. Is there any discussion?
Donna Paddock, 115 Elm Street. Could you give us a little background on what this is? Thank you.
So I'd be happy to. Very good. So I'd be happy to give you some background on this. This is connected to a settlement that was reached across the state with the producers and distributors of opioids as part of a very large class action lawsuit. And this led to money being available for municipalities across the state, and Hatfield receives a portion of those funds. Now, when our funds were received, a small portion accidentally was classified as miscellaneous revenue and went right to free cash. So this is to transfer it back to the fund it's supposed to be in. And we have a opioid settlement task force that is working on deciding how to use those funds in the future. So they'll be meeting in public. They're actually running a survey right now to determine part of how to use those funds. The link is available outside. It's a short plug. And these funds will go towards different uses that are approved by the state to help with the opioid crisis.
Any other discussion on Article 6? If not, all those in favor of Article 6, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Article 6 carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 7.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 7 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $1,917.50 from free cash to the Wetlands Protection Fund.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 7. Is there any discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor of Article 7, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 7 carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 8.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 8 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town, in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, authorize the payment of one or more bills from fiscal year '24 and appropriate $1,160.83 from free cash to pay these bills.
You're good. You're good. Okay. You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 8. Is there any discussion? Okay, and I just want to say, so this requires a 4/5 vote, so it does have to be unanimous, otherwise we have to count. So all those in favor of Article 8, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 8 carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 9.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 9 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move the town vote to appropriate $90,000 from free cash for engineering services to meet the town's obligation under the permitting requirements for small municipal separate storm sewer systems.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 9. Is there any discussion? Greg, if you can just add the MS4 to the end of that motion, just to clarify.
MS4. Okay,
You good? Okay.
there you go.
All right. So again, you've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 9. Again, is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 9 carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 10.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 10 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $20,000 from free cash to be placed in the other post-employment benefits OPEB liability trust fund.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 10. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 10, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 10 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 11.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 11 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $100,000 from free cash to be placed in the general stabilization account.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 11. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 11, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 11 passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 12.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 12 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to appoint the town treasurer as trustee of the other post-employment benefits, OPEB, liability trust fund, in accordance with General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 20.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 12. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 12, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 12 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 13.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 13 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 54B, to allow the town trust funds to be invested in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 205C, the so-called
Ed,
prudent.
Ed, hang on. Can you just restate that? 203.
203C.
If you can start with general law in accordance with
In accordance with General Law, Chapter 203C.
Yep.
Yeah. the so-called prudent investor rule, as recommended by the town's financial policies, to make available the options required to meet the investment goals of the OPEB trust.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 13. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 13, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 13 is passed. This is where Elena does a great job of keeping us in line here. We got to make sure every little word is correct, otherwise the state is not happy with us, so thank you.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal,
I move we take up Article 14.
Second.
the motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 14 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal,
I move that the town vote to appropriate $15,517,133 for and consistent with separate purposes and separate line items set forth in the version of the fiscal year 2026 budget prepared by the Finance Committee, approved on April 29th, 2025, and on file with the town clerk, and to meet said appropriation as follows. From taxation, $13,905,443. From Cable TV Enterprise Fund, $75,466. From Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, $1,449,711. From Ambulance Revenue Fund, $127,385. From Ambulance Surplus Fund, $20,000. From Cemetery Perpetual Care Interest Fund, $500.
you've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 14. This is the budget article, so if there's any discussion, it is in your packet, so we will take a few moments and give people a chance to take a look. And certainly if you have any questions, then come up. But we will take a moment for people to flip to that. But that is part of the whole packet that is there. So I don't want to rush people, so we will give you a moment just in case. Yep, certainly.
Bob Dickerman, The Jog. So the next article involves a Proposition 2.5 ballot question. And I'm not really understanding how the two fit together. The appropriation here does not include the 2.5% override, or the next one is an addition to the appropriation. Could we be filled in on that a little bit, perhaps, please? Thank you.
Yep. Finance, Sean.
So the question is, how do you appropriate the funds from a operating override into the budget? That's because they're not included presently. So is the question that how do you appropriate funds from an operating override into the budget? Oh, so unlike the last time we did an operating override, which was more general and it required two budgets, this is specific for the operations of fire and ambulance as specified in the override. So it would just be amended into those line items, because really the only line items are expense and salary. So that's where it would go the first year, specifically. So there's no need to create a whole new budget, because that's all it is. It's only dedicated to that.
I'm still not understanding. So the amount for the $400,000 for the ambulance, that's additional?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be additional to that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The amount for the fire and ambulance is not built into this budget article. It would be extra based on the subsequent votes,
Okay,
how they go.
that was the main question, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it would be added to the expense, salary lines, and then some small amount of it would be added to the health insurance fund.
Retirement. Any other questions on Article 14, which is the standard budget article? Okay, if not, all those in favor of Article 14, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We've got votes from the back. Any opposed, please say nay. Article 14 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we take up Article 15.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 15 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $488,200 from the tax levy for the purpose of funding personnel in the fire and ambulance department and associated costs contingent upon passage of a Proposition 2.5 ballot question under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 15. Is there any discussion? And just to remind people, so this is step one of a two-part process. If it passes tonight, it still will need to pass at the ballot next week. So this is step one with any of these that do require that separate part. So with that, is there any discussion? Yep.
Edwin McGlue, Chestnut Street. I'm just wondering, this $488,000, is that for 1 year or multiple years?
Go ahead.
So it's mostly it is for 1 year of operations. It includes, I guess to further amend that statement, it includes a lease for temporary place for folks who are working 24 hours to live. So that is not a permanent solution to that question. It's, I don't know, 3, 5 years, however long it lasts. It would be included on a yearly basis. The money that you're voting on is permanent. I mean, it would continue year after year after year, but it is for a year's operations. The only potential future question that would have to be addressed would be what happens beyond temporary living quarters, which would last, 3, 5, 7 years, however long it lasts. What would you do after that? So it is just for 1 year of operations.
Any further discussion on Article 15? If not, all those in favor of Article 15, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Nay. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. All those in favor of Article 15, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Nay. Article 15 is defeated.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 16.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 16 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to rescind the following bond authorization projects voted: Sewer Assets Management Planning Project, Article 15 of the May 14th, 2024 Annual Town Meeting. Stormwater Asset Management Planning Project, Article 16 of the May 14th, 2024 Annual Town Meeting, and Drinking Water Asset Management Planning Project, Article 17 of the May 14th, 2024 Annual Town Meeting.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 16. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Betty Snow, Elm Street.
Betty, could you just step a little bit closer? A little bit a little closer to the mic. Yep.
Oh. I'm not, can you hear me now?
He's coming, yep. We just want to make sure everyone can hear.
Oh.
Thank you.
Betty Snow, 78 Elm Street. I just want to understand why you're rescinding these projects. Because I see later on that you're replacing some of them with new proposals.
I'm happy to speak to that. So Last year at town meeting, we had the opportunity to pursue these 3 projects for water, wastewater, and stormwater asset management projects. They came with very large state grants and then included a town contribution as well. The town contribution for 2 of the projects was paid through retained earnings for water and for wastewater. There was no appropriation given on the stormwater one. So later in this warrant, we will appropriate, actually we will appropriate free cash for the stormwater asset management project. Those 3 appropriations also included the ability to bond, authorizations for bonds if we needed them. We didn't need to borrow that money because we had it covered through these other sources. So this article removes the authorization to bond for those 3 projects. 2 of them are already paid for with the retained earnings, and the other one we will pay for later in this warrant with a free cash appropriation.
Any other discussion on Article 16? If not, all those in favor of Article 16, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 16 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 17.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 16 as in your handout. Or sorry, 17. My apologies on that one. She's keeping
Mr.
me on my
Moderator.
toes. Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaws of the town by adding a new revolving fund for use by the Department of Public Works under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half as follows. Adding revolving fund watershed management timber sales. The authorized to spend the fund is the DPW director. The revenue source is timber sales. The use of the fund is operating expenses for the timber harvesting program, and the FY 2026 spending limit would be set at $50,000.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 17. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Stan Pitchko, 65 Prospect Street. Question is do we have a DPW director? And if we don't, who would be spending that money, or who would be authorized to spend that money if it needed to be spent? Thank you.
So we have a search open for a DPW director, and I don't believe that we'd be expecting any expenditures. Our water superintendent is the back. In the meantime, correct? Yes. So we wouldn't expect any until we do have a DPW director. Sure.
Okay. Any further discussion on Article 17? If not, all those in favor of Article 17, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 17 carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 18.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 18 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to set the spending limits for the revolving funds under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, as shown in the warrant.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 18. Is there any discussion? And I will give you a moment knowing that it's in the handout. Yes.
I'm curious as to why we need $50,000 for the celebration committee.
So I'll just say that this isn't money that's appropriated to that committee. If they were to have an event or something else where they receive donations that come in, that's the funding source for this committee. They would then be authorized to spend up to $50,000. So, for instance, if they had an event that included fireworks or something else and received donations to do so, then they would be able to spend up to $50,000. But that money is not appropriated by the town.
Okay. Any other oh, yeah, sorry.
This is a minor point, but it's something I'm involved with, so I thought I'd bring it up. We have, for plot fees, generating $5,000 for the community garden. There's 45 plots. They're charged $20 a piece. That's $900. it doesn't add up. How's that work? And
Again,
I say because it's a small item, but then, you know, how does it might apply to the others too. I just as a general understanding of how this operates.
It's a good question. The 5,000 is a limit, so you can't go above that. So it seems like this was set pretty generously, but we won't need to go above that $5,000.
Yes.
So money can also accumulate there? So money can accumulate there? So that would limit how much could be accumulated or spent over time. You might, you know, just because you're only getting in $900 a year, you might, some years you might not spend it. I mean, you might, but other committees maybe wouldn't. Like, so.
Betty Snow, Elm Street. On the revolving funds, is there a process in place so that, for example, somebody comes in and thinks it's a great idea to spend $35,000 for the celebration fund without any oversight? I guess I would like to understand that. And a perfect example would be the community garden, you know, that we only collect less than the 5,000. So.
Oversight would come from town treasurer and town accountant to make sure funds are being spent properly, and then should they spend on something that seems like it's outside the mission of what they're doing, essentially the recourse ends up being that these are all appointees that are appointed by the select board. So it'd be probably a political decision later to maybe not continue with their terms. But financially speaking, it would be overseen by our accountant and treasurer's office.
Okay. Any further discussion on Article 18? If not, all those in favor of Article 18, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Article 18 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 19.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 19 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $27,837 to create the Stormwater Asset Management Plan.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 19. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 19, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 19 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 20.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 20 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $42,000 for repair and replacement of 6 fire hydrants.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 20. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 20, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Article 20 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 21.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 21 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $76,200 for replacement of the Smith Academy carpets.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 21. Is there any discussion? What's wrong with the carpet? Jeff, you got to come up to the mic if you want to speak. Same rules for everybody. It's the same rules for everybody, no matter what.
Jeff Zagrotnik, Main Street, Hatfield. My question is, what's wrong with the carpets? Did we have like a roof leak or something? Or are they like tethered? Or do we just not like the color of them anymore?
They were here when I graduated.
They were here when you went to school here. That's how old they are, and they need to be replaced.
Yeah, but there's less traffic on them every year. They don't make them like they used to,
We're
Dave.
talking about 40-year-old carpets.
Jeff, are you talking about the students or the carpets?
So, Christy Boudreau, Main Street and School Committee Chair. I was asked by the Capital Group to also speak if this came up. And just so folks know, those carpets, it's not an exaggeration, they are 45-year-old carpets, which means the first students to tread on those carpets are now eligible for early retirement benefits. And we would like to give our school a little bit of a facelift and a welcome, fresh look and feel. They're really worn and sad. So we're working to make sure that we gain enrollment, and having a welcoming environment is part of that plan. So this would replace all of the carpets in the classrooms. All of them are 45 years old. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Article 21? If not, all those in favor of Article 21, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 21 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 22.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 22 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $140,000 for upgrades of the DPW facility at Elm Court.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 22. Is there any discussion? Yeah, Bill. I'll get you in a minute, Steph.
Bill Belden, Pantry Road. I'm against this article for one fact. If we go back to the 22 annual meeting, this building you're talking about was recommended as a storage shed to store material and maybe some salt. Nothing about a building coming up in future about this. So now you want $140,000 to upgrade a building that you only appropriated $94,000 to build in the first place. It doesn't make sense. And I also understand that they want to move the mechanic down there. And that's what this upgrade is for, from what I understand. Maybe I'm being misinformed. But to me, moving the mechanic down there when all the equipment's up to Straits Road doesn't make sense to me. The mechanic's down there, all the equipment's up there. You get something that's broken, how are you going to get down and back and forth? I'm totally against this. We were misled at the first place in 22, as far as I'm concerned. There is this, just recently I was just told that there's a shed there, hoop shed, also down there. Where'd the money for that come from? You know, it just seems that this is a waste. It's supposed to be a storage shed. Thank you.
Stephanie Slish, Straits Road. I had a similar comment and just wondering, like, in 2020, I thought this was a storage shed. That was the last thing I heard of it, or was it 2022? And I'm just, what is the $140,000 going towards? What upgrades are happening there? It's, you know, Elm Court, it's the end of Elm Court. Nobody goes down that way. It would be helpful, I think, for the public to understand what's happening, since it's something a lot of people probably don't know about. Thank you.
Great, so our highway superintendent is here and can help speak to that. I can start with some answers to it as well, but if I think one more person has a question, so we can take that first and then address them all together, if that works.
Yep. Garrett, come on down.
Jeff Zagradek, Main Street. I totally agree with Mr. Belden. There is one thing he did leave out. It was voted for a salt storage shed, because I stood on this floor and asked if we were getting Haydenville back and we needed more salt storage. I think we need to use less salt. So this whole thing honestly should be investigated. Honestly. Has anybody gone and looked at this?
Jeff, up here.
Let's not waste any more of our tax dollars on this. That's all I got to say.
Garrett? I'm gonna have our highway superintendent just answer a few questions first, and he may address what you're going to answer. So,
Angelica Dewey, Elm Street. It sounds to me Straits Road is much farther out of the floodplain than Elm Court.
Garrett. So again, Garrett is a department head. He is not a registered voter, but I've asked him as a department head to speak here tonight.
So the building was designed as a storage building, and that's what it is. They're going to put, with the money, be concrete floors, insulate it, and put lighting in it, power.
And Garrett, can you speak to what's being stored in this facility?
Vehicles.
So right now, the current setup on Straits Road, there's a number of vehicles, and it sometimes makes it difficult to find room for actually working on vehicles, anything else there. It frees up space in the Straits Road facility for the mechanic who will stay at Straits Road. I'm sorry for any miscommunications there. I think I was confused at one point and may have said something inaccurate in a public meeting on that. Mechanic will stay at Straits Road, and then the facility on Elm Court would be used for storage of vehicles so that they're safe from the elements. That's
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep, I know we have a few people that were coming up.
Anna Holhut, Elm Street. I did take a ride down there the other night, and there is one of those hoop things. Okay, I'm going to talk like a girl, but that's okay. There is a hoop, like a hoop thing where I thought that would be where the sand would go. But this building that's down there is a metal building. It's very nice. It has 3 huge garage doors to it. So if I'm not sure if the usage is really needed by the DPW, but maybe it can be rented and maybe have some income come in. Because I just can't see having, like Mr. Belden said, you know, Straits Road and Elm Court at the end. It's there, and there also is like one of those metal containers like that's out here. There's also one of those there. So I'm not sure what all this is put there for. I guess that's a question for Garrett.
Luke.
Luke Longstreet, Pantry Road. I guess my biggest comment is if it's a storage shed, why is it already prepped with plumbing for a bathroom and a shower if it's just material storage?
So the answer that was described to me was that when we were going through the planning of this building, there was a decision point at which you could either continue with the modular building that was originally planned, or to move to this building that was available for the same cost of a stick building. That's what this frame building that they put up. And they also had the ability to prep it in case future bathrooms were needed. Right now, there is no plan for such facilities there, but they could lay the foundation so that it could be prepped that way if needed. That's what was described to me. I think that gets to the questions that were asked.
Any further discussion on Article number 22? If not, all those in favor of Article 22, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Nay. Article 22 is failed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Einel.
I move we take up Article 23.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 23 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Einel.
I move that the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $85,000 for purchase of a new police cruiser for the Hatfield Police Department.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 23. Is there any discussion?
Bay Snow, Elm Street. My question is, how old is the vehicle and what shape is it in? And have you looked into leasing one and doing for green? You know, have you even considered that? I mean, I don't know. Do we own the police cruiser that we have currently?
Yes.
And the police chief is waiting in the back to come up and answer your questions.
Oh.
Don't worry, he's not going to sneak up on you. And again, Chief Dukoshek is not a registered voter, but as a department head, I've asked him to speak to answer any questions.
I'll bend down. Good evening, everybody. So we have 2 8-year-old vehicles, and we have 1 3-year-old vehicle. So we will be getting rid of one of the 8-year-old vehicles. Okay, we'll be replacing them. It's essentially the mainline cruiser. I think it's got about 165,000 miles on it.
Thank you. Bless you. Any other discussion on Article 23? Not all those in favor of Article 23, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Nay. We're going to do this one more time. Article 23, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Nay. We're going to vote it. So I have 2 counters. We'll go ahead and take a voice vote. It's too close for me to make a call from here. So we'll start with all those in favor of aye, please stand up. Okay, all the ayes can sit, and the nays please stand. I'm testing the athleticism of our 2 counters. Next year we'll have to get steps for them up in the front.
Somebody's loud.
And you can go ahead and sit. We'll just let Elena tabulate.
We have 125 yes votes, 39 no votes.
Okay, so Article 23 is passed.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 24.
Motion's been made and seconded to take up Article 24 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 21C, and General Law, Chapter 30B, Section 12B, to enter into 5-year lease purchase agreement for new vehicles beginning July 1st, 2025.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 24. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Carrie Flaherty, 10 Primrose Path. Can we have a list of what vehicles we're purchasing and what ones we're actually going to give away when we purchase new ones under a new lease?
It's in the handout.
I think, Andrew, is that in the handout, I believe?
Yes, there is a handout that describes the vehicles that would be purchased. There are 2 vehicles for the DPW, a dump truck and a pickup truck. There is a Council on Aging passenger van, and then the boom mower for the DPW. As far as the question of what vehicles would be given away, that isn't necessarily a part of this lease, but there have been discussions about 2 vehicles that have not gotten a significant amount of use, where there is interest in potentially dispossessing of those vehicles.
Yep.
Okay, so I could have done my due diligence and looked further in the packet, so I apologize. But
okay.
With that said, so we're going to, if we vote yes, we're going to get a new Council on Aging van, but we may not get rid of one, so we're going to have 3?
Nope.
we're going to get rid of one. And then if we get a new dump truck, and sorry, the other vehicle you said, we're going to get rid of 2 DPW vehicles.
Yes.
So as we get new ones, we are getting rid of other ones out of the fleet.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. All right.
Okay. Stan.
How old is the dump? 2000. 25 years.
Yeah, it's 25-year-old dump.
Stan Pitchko, Prospect Street. On the article, shouldn't there be a number attached to it per year that we're authorizing? And how are we spending 5 years into the future, or actually this year plus 4 years into the future?
So this article actually does 2 things. It allows the town to enter into a 5-year contract, which is necessary because the town is limited to 3 years without town meeting approval. As I understand it, this is an authorization under 4421C to employ the lease purchase option. And so this is approval of the lease purchase option. And so if it's approved, I believe that we would have to have appropriation for the lease amount every year. But it allows this town to enter into a 5-year agreement, which it cannot do without town meeting approval.
And that appropriation is built into the FY26 budget as approved earlier this evening. So we would need to build in that purchase for each year into the budget. But it is already a line in the operating budget that we've already approved.
Mr. Roderick? Yep. Just to clarify too, we use the word lease here, but that's really not how I would describe this. It's really, we're owning the vehicles at the end. We don't give them back. So it's really like a lease to own situation. It's not like an auto lease like you think about. I can only drive 26,000 miles, and then, we own the vehicle at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Greg O'Masta, 123 North Hatfield Road. So I'm confused. You're looking to lease vehicles, but you just said that at the end of the lease, you're buying it. So typically, when you lease vehicles, the buyout on the end is higher than if you went to own them originally. So I don't know where the numbers are coming from, but if you're going to hand them in at the end, you still have a payment.
No.
If you're buying them back at the end, you have another payment.
I got you.
It's an auto loan.
Yeah.
It's an auto loan.
It's a lease-to-own program. It takes we pay it off over 5 years. We own the vehicle at the end of 5 years.
Correct,
There's
but you're buying them out 100% in the lease. Is that what you're... So you're going to lease these vehicles at 100% buyout. There's no payment at the end.
There's no buyout. We pay a fee for same fee for 5 years.
But you just said you're going to keep them.
Yeah, and we have them at the end. We own them.
We own them.
It's a lease-to-own program. There's no buyout at the end.
Because a lot of times, a lease-to-own, it's cheaper to buy out initially.
We've been doing this for many, many years now. The line has been in the DPW budget for many, many years. The handout gives you the breakdown of what each vehicle was going to cost on an annual basis, and at the end of the 5 years, we will own that dump truck or the pickup truck or the boom mower or whatever it is will be owned by the town of Hatfield, not given back to anybody, and there's no buyout at the end.
Okay, because we've been doing that for 45 years.
We've been doing this for the same company for many, many years, yes.
Thank you.
In fact, part of the money in the budget this year is to finish paying off for the ambulance. And also another couple of other vehicles that we purchased 4 years ago, which we will be giving the last payment on this year. And then obviously when we pay off the last payment on the ambulance, we will own it, and we won't owe anymore. So we won't have to go buy a new one.
Okay. Let's see. Yep.
Tom Rossmaster, Main Street. Just confusing because of the language, lease to purchase. It's just to finance, it sounds.
Yes.
Okay, so people are getting hung up on leases and buyouts at the end of leases. It's a finance thing, so it's just the language is wrong. I think there was a question related to breaking out like, can these be split out? And why is the mower or the van is like 5 years? It's not anticipated. It's a nice to have, but it's not like an immediate thing. So you can engage in these financing arrangements for vehicles anytime. You don't need to engage in a 5-year like contract to do so. Is that what this is, or this is just identifying the vehicles that you think you're going to want over the coming years?
Well, the intention is to get the vehicles as soon as possible. I mean, some things are not always possible to get right away that we've leased in this. I'm using the word lease. It is a financing arrangement. That's what it is. So this would be a list of vehicles that would fall under the new financing agreement that we already have money in the budget to pay for in future years. It's already built in.
Earmarked, yeah.
Yes. So we've done this for, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years now, for several reasons. One is it makes it very predictable how much money we're going to need to spend when you're building the budget and we don't have a ton of extra money. This year we have $1 million in free cash. That's not the norm. The norm is that we maybe have
Couple hundred thousand.
So every time you do a vehicle, it's a 5-year, or it could be a multi-year arrangement, and that monies are earmarked all the way into those 5 years in the future budgets already.
Yeah. Yep. And it just allows us to predict going forward, like, this is going to be the cost each year. And then 5 years from now, when this expires, we'll probably get another financing arrangement with other vehicles in it.
And the vehicles are financed with like locks. There's no steps or any kind of like. Right. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Luke Longstreet, Pantry Road. I have a couple things. First being the boom mower at $138,000. Our packet currently says that we can rent it for about $6,000 a year now. And to me, being in the vegetation management business, it seems like most of the town roads are managed pretty well within that 1 month period. At those numbers, it would take you 23 years to pay off the $138,000 at renting it at $6,000 a year. I just don't personally see the benefit of spending the money when we're renting it for a very reasonable rate. There's nothing that says that we can't rent it again in the fall. And the other part that goes along with it, to my knowledge, the last I knew, the payloader that we own was down for repair, for a pretty major repair. So if we were entering into an agreement to be able to purchase this boom mower without any guarantees of the payloader being done, when will we start seeing that payoff happen? And then the second part being the F-450 dump truck at $399,000. As operating a business out of Hadley in landscape construction, $399,000 for an F-450 dump truck is a lot of money.
You're reading it wrong, Luke. It's a dump truck and an F-450 pickup. The dump truck is $310,000.
What is the dump truck?
I'm sorry?
It's a dump truck and an F-450?
It's two vehicles in that line. Yeah.
Is the F-450 also then a dump truck, or what is it? Just a standard?
So if you look down further in the handout, there is a breakdown.
Okay, all right, my mistake. So the dump truck's a full-size 6-wheeler, 10-wheeler?
Yeah. It
Full-size CDL
replaces
class
the current 2000
dump truck?
International that we have now.
Okay, thank you.
Also, just with regard to the mower, it has a 25-year life expectancy. It seems highly unlikely that the continued rental rate 23 years from now will be the same as it is today. I would anticipate that whoever's renting that is going to raise the rates sometime in the next 20 years.
I won't dispute that. However, a boom mower is a very, very high expenditure piece of equipment in terms of maintenance, both between greasing and serviceable parts, blades. You have to have a specialized hydraulics license to be able to run it. I'm not sure how many of the current staff do hold that license, so there's a lot of concerns with this, and it seems like a lot of money that maybe we don't necessarily have to roll into the same budget year as when we're dealing with some other stuff in town that's more prudent.
Did Garrett want to speak to this? Garrett, did you want to speak to this boom mower?
Come on down, Garrett. Same rules I told Jeff. Wait till you get down.
It's not $6,000. It's not a year thing. It's $6,000 a month to rent it. That's all. I mean, as far as rental availability, you might not get it when you want, that type of thing. But if it's available, they'll rent it. That's all.
Okay.
Is there other questions about it?
All good. All right. Any further discussion on Article 24? Yeah, Jeff, come on up.
Jeff Zagranik again. I don't really have a problem with the boom mower. What I want to know, I know that we rent one and do what we can with it in a short amount of time. If we purchase this, I'm assuming
Jeff, look up
the reason we're going to.
Jeff, look up.
Yeah, I'm assuming the reason we're purchasing this is so we can expand with it and actually get more done, because there's a lot of roads in town where there's a lot of brush coming over. Is that the reason behind this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's my only question. Buy the mower.
All right, yep, come on up. I appreciate the hustle. You're all right. You don't have to run.
My name is Catherine Baker. I live on Main Street, and I just want clarification. This article is just allowing you to enter a lease. It's not about appropriations. Is that correct? Correct.
The appropriations already happened.
Right, number 24, it's about paperwork.
Correct.
Correct? We're not fighting over how much money we're spending.
No.
No.
Okay. I was just afraid that there was confusion about that. Thank you.
Okay, so no further discussion. We're going to go ahead. All those in favor of Article 24, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Article 24 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 25.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 25 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $3,370,000 for the purpose of replacing the boilers in the roof of the elementary school and to mill and pave the surface of Billing.
Ed, sorry. I need you to go back, start at roof, and make sure we say Hatfield Elementary.
I'll just start again.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay. I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $3,370,000 for the purpose of replacing the boilers and roof of the Hatfield Elementary School and to mill and pave the surface of Billing Way and the parking lots at the Hatfield Elementary School and Smith Academy, and to raise this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow such sum under General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, therefore, provided that the appropriation and such borrowing shall be contingent on the passage of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion question under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 25. Is there any discussion? And again, this is step one of a two-part process that would need to pass here as well as at the ballot next week. So with that, any discussion on Article 25? Yes, Betty.
Betty Snow, Elm Street. Going forward, something like this, it would be helpful to break down the $3,370,000 between roof, boiler, and whatnot. Oh, it is? The thing is that the elementary school is only 20 years old. Why are we replacing a boiler and a roof, which I understand the roof has already been replaced once?
No,
Yeah, it's 25 years old, and the roof has never been replaced. We spend money repairing it. It has never been replaced. The reason is because it's leaking. And the cost of allowing the roof to continue to leak on a relatively new building and the potential for the development of mold and other problems inside the building is probably more than we want to risk, I think.
Okay.
Yes, Steph.
Stephanie Slish, Straits Road. I was just wondering if someone could explain the difference between Article 25 and Article 26, because I think that's important context for folks.
Article 25 is a debt exclusion. It would be above and beyond the constraints of Chapter 2.5. So we would borrow the money. It's two different schedules, but because the nature of the projects would suggest that you should borrow for two different lengths of time. But it would be covered by an increase in property taxes that would not fall under the normal levy limit of Proposition 2.5. To be outside of that for the duration of the time it would take us to pay it back, then it would end. So unlike an operating override, it is not permanent. Article 26 is a borrowing. So should Article 25 not pass, either at town meeting or at the ballot box, Article 26 would authorize the town to borrow the money to do the projects. The boilers in particular at the elementary school are particularly time sensitive. We need to do that project when there are not children in the school this summer. We can't risk going into winter and having no heat and having to close the school while the boilers are replaced. So one way or another, we need to replace those and fix the roof for sure. So should it fail, it would allow us to borrow the money to do that. The consequences of that are we'd have to start paying it back without any funding to do so, really. So that means we'd have to cut other services in town in order to be able to afford to do that, most likely. Without knowing what the budgets actually look like in future years, you can't say exactly what that would mean, but it would seem likely that it would mean some reductions.
Okay. Any further discussion on Article 25?
Betty Snow, Elm Street. I'd just like to understand, so is this going to affect our real estate taxes? Are they going to be going up? I don't quite understand.
Is it in the handout? Sorry.
Andrew has the numbers.
Andrew, could you give the numbers? Yes is the answer. And we have numbers, very specific numbers.
Sure. So for this debt exclusion vote, you see the funding for the project over the life of the bonding, over the life of the repaying the borrowing, directly on your taxes essentially every year. And this will be essentially about $165 per year more for the average taxpayer. So for the owner of the $450,000 home, essentially, taxes increase by about $165 a year as a result of this project.
Okay.
Yes.
Until it's been paid off, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
Jennifer Maloney, 25 South Street. I'm just wondering what, if we have an update on the current percentage of resident Hatfield students versus choice students that are enrolled?
I think either Dr. Driscoll's in the back. And again, as earlier with both Garrett and Chief DeKoschek, Dr. Driscoll is not a resident, but as a department head, I've asked him to speak.
Sure. Thank you. So currently, for Hatfield Public Schools, we are just below 50% school choice. So about 49% school choice students and just about 51% Hatfield students, residents.
Joe?
So I have a question on these two articles that are one after the other. If the first one passes tonight but fails at the ballot, we don't have a roof and we don't have boilers. If both of these pass and the ballot fails, we could at least borrow to fix the roof, which is leaking like a colander right now. We all know that. And look, somebody paid for us to go to school, and they're long dead and they're long gone now. And I guess at our ages, we got to keep paying for kids to go to school as they did for us. But if both of these items pass and the ballot passes, I guess you're saying that we wouldn't borrow, or we have a choice to borrow whatever is going to benefit the town best.
We would likely not borrow, and we would probably likely have another vote like we had earlier tonight to rescind the authority to borrow for the projects that we didn't borrow for before.
Right. So if both pass, we're at least in the best position to fix the roof and the boilers. But what you're saying is if the override passes at the ballot, we might lean toward that, and certainly we're not going to borrow double the amount of money.
Right.
So it would be to our best advantage to look toward passing both of these as a little bit of an insurance. It's our building. We got to fix it. So, and I've talked to the janitor there, and the amount of leaking in that roof is pretty unbelievable. So I know we were supposed to get, we had in a grant application for a solar array that would have gone on there that would have put in a new roof. But federally, that was pulled away from us, so we don't get that. So we have to do something. But I just wanted to check the difference.
And just to add a little more context to this, I guess, that is all correct.
Okay.
And also, we held off on doing this roof project, particularly because the school building assistance program that the state runs would have offered us reimbursement for the project potentially, but we weren't eligible until 25 years.
Okay.
Then they moved that line back to 30 years a couple of years ago. So now we're another 5 years out. And also, all the other people who were between 25 and 30 years are also looking, now there's a whole 5 years of additional people who are looking to get on the list.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense.
So it's not like vote one up and one down. It's to our best advantage to vote both.
Yes, we're recommending both pass and then see what happens at the ballot box and then.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear any confusion. Thank you.
Stan?
Stan Pitchko, Prospect Street. Building on what Joe said, I understand 25 and 26, and one is just a backup to the other. 25 is almost 3.4 million, and that requires the Proposition 2.5 override or debt exclusion, which goes away after it's paid off. And the other one, we're going out and we're going to be borrowing money. But the other one doesn't include the parking lots and the roadway, and it's substantially less. So why wouldn't we have made a 3.4 and a 3.4, and one's an override and one is not? Why would we take the roads and the asphalt out of the other one? Thank you.
I can't completely answer that question. My personal feeling would be that we need to pave the parking lots. We've been kicking that project down the road for about 7 years now. It's probably more than doubled in cost since we started talking about it. And the parking lots, I'm 100% sure are not going to pave themselves. And I'm also sure the cost isn't going down. It may fluctuate some year to year, but overall, 10 years from now, it is going to be cheaper. And you all saw as you walked in, it's hard to avoid the crumbling asphalt out here. I just think it's a project that, to me personally, that project is just as important. I mean, it's not quite as timely, obviously. It could wait compared to not having heat, I guess. But I do think it's a valid project that should be done.
But I believe that the reason that it was the second question included just the boilers and the roof had to do with borrowing capacity as well. So the larger parking lot projects were taken out just to decrease that amount we were borrowing, understanding that the roof and the boilers were clearly the priority in the building.
Because that would be another $1 million you'd have to,
Good, Tom.
another bunch of money you have to take out of next year's budget.
Tom Rossmaster, Main Street again. I guess it's just a comment on deferred maintenance, and towns do it all the time, buildings, and deferred maintenance on a roof is just the worst thing, right? Because it causes problems with every other system for durability once you get leaks and such. So, but the question I have is related to just the estimate of time. So yes, it's not permanent on the tax piece, but like how long is that? What's the equivalent time that it would be projected out?
It would be
Talking
25
20
to 30 years, depending on the advice of bond counsel and how long they say that the borrowing can last for.
And what's the estimated useful life of the new roof, for example?
That's the question. 30 years was what we
Probably
estimated.
about that. So even though it's temporary, 25 years from now, we're going to be sitting there doing the same thing all over again, probably, right? Yeah.
I mean, realistically, yes. I mean, like, we finished paying off the school at 20 years, and it needed a new roof at 21 and a half years or something, whatever
So
it was. So
the idea that
yeah.
it's temporary is kind of,
I mean, right, we always have things to, if it's not the roof or something else is going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Christy Boudreau, School Committee. I just want to add to the conversation that the cost for repairs on these two items have grown more and more costly. So while these are big expenses, there are some costs that we will be saving. Since 2019, the elementary school has spent more than $250,000 on building repair, which are the two boilers and the roof, almost exclusively. So we're looking at significant savings. In addition, with a new roof, the elementary school would have a viable option of adding solar power, which would be a way that we could help reduce our, frankly, skyrocketing utility costs. So there are some small financial gains in the future with this approval as well.
Yeah, Stan, I'm going to do this last one, then we're going to move to a vote.
Stan Pitchko, Prospect Street. Just one more question. Maybe it's just a point of clarification. Diana, you said that Article 26 at 2.3 million was pretty much the hit of our bonding or our borrowing capacity.
No.
And would it be prudent that as you move through Article 25 and as we move into Article 26, to amend it to include what you were trying to do in Article 25 for the folks on the floor to decide whether they would like to include the parking lots and road as well as the roof and stuff? Because if the amended amount doesn't go through, you go back to the original article again, and then that gets voted on.
Do that when we get to 26. No, I mean, I think someone could certainly do that when we get to Article 26. The question, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as, we have lots of borrowing capacity. What we don't have is paying back capacity, because that requires cash flow. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move Article 25 to a vote. This is a 2/3 majority. So again, we can do a voice if it's mostly unanimous, but if it's close, then we will have to count. So all those in favor of Article 23, please say aye. Aye. Or sorry, I'm going to say it one more time. All those in favor of Article 25, I was looking at the 2/3. This is what happens. We get going in the night here. So all those in favor of Article 25, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Article 25 is passed.
Mr. Moderator.
So again, Elena's not the only one that keeps us in line up here. Town council is also keeping me in line. So we do have under our bylaw, we can make a voice call in the 2/3, but I do have to formally ask if anyone is questioning that 2/3 vote. And if not, then we move forward. So if there's no question, then with there, Article 25 is passed. Thank you. Thank you, Town Council.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 26.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 26 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $2,268,000 for the purpose of repairing and replacing the boilers and roof at Hatfield Elementary School, and to raise this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow such sum under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article number 26. Is there any discussion? All right. If not, all those in favor of Article 26, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right. And again, I'm going to say Article 26 passes. As a 2/3 vote, is there any objection questioning the 2/3 pass? Then Article 26 passes.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 27.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 27 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40, Section 14, and all enabling laws to authorize the Select Board to acquire by gift or purchase such temporary construction easements and rights as may be necessary in connection with the Day Pond project as follows. A temporary construction easement of approximately 4,000 square feet at 69 Main Street, and B, a temporary construction easement of approximately 4,250 square feet at 9 Day Ave.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 27. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 27, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Article 27 passes.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 28.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up Article number 28 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate or reserve from the Community Preservation annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal year 2026, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Appropriations from FY 2026 estimated revenues for committee administrative expense, $8,500. Reserves from fiscal Y 2026 estimated revenues for historic resources reserve, $40,852. From fiscal FY 2026 estimated revenues for community house reserves, $40,852. From FY 2026 estimated revenues for the open space reserve, $40,852. From FY 26 estimated revenues for budgeted reserve, $277,461.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 28. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 28, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 28 passes.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 29.
Motion's been made and seconded to take up Article 29 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from the Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve Account, upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, a sum of $35,000 to restore and rehabilitate the main roadways on the east and west sides of the Brad Street Cemetery under the guidance of the Hatfield Cemetery and Historical Commissions, said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 29. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 29, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Article 29 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 30.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 30 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve Account, upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, a sum of $14,000 to expand and rehabilitate the main roadway into the Main Street Cemetery under the guidance of the Hatfield Cemetery and Historical Commissions. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 30. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 30, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Article 30 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 31.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up Article 31 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from the Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve Account, upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, the sum of $30,000 to install an irrigation system for Smith Academy Park, it being the intent of the town to use the said system to help preserve Smith Academy Park for the purposes of open space, conservation, natural resources, and other related purposes, and to dedicate the said park as land protected under Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution, such project to be under the guidance of the Hatfield Select Board, Open Space Committee, and Department of Public Works, and said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 31. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 31, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Article 31 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 32.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article number 32 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from the Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve Account, upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, the sum of $91,700 for rehabilitating and restoring for recreation, education, and open space purposes the town-owned Day Pond located at Smith Academy, 34 School Street, it being the intent of the town to dedicate the said Day Pond as land protected under Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution, such project to be under the guidance of the Hatfield Select Board, Hatfield School Department, Recreation Department, Open Space Committee, and the Department of Public Works, and said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
Second. You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article 32. Is there any discussion? Yep.
I've lived here many years. I've never seen Day Pond. I have two questions. How much money have we already put into this project? That's the first question. My second question is, what do we envision here? I mean, what is this pond going to do for us? Is it a fishing pond? It's a fishing pond? So we're going to spend $91,000 for a fishing pond?
Is Brian here?
So we have from us with us tonight the chair of the Day Pond Rehabilitation Project Committee, Brian Nicholas, who'd be happy to address some of those questions.
Brian Nicholas, Brad Street. This project received funding from town meeting last year in the amount of $197,500. It's a very expensive project because it comes under the jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers and the State Department of Environmental Protection. So we had to engage environmental engineers to design the project, and to apply for the necessary permits. The permits have taken over a year to procure. We have to submit full plans for construction of the project before we even go out to bid for it. So the engineering and permitting component of the project alone is $95,000. So we, at the suggestion of the Community Preservation Committee, since we knew it was going to be an elongated project, the committee suggested that we do this in two phases, and that we also seek funding from any source that we could to help to alleviate the burden on the town. We did apply for, and we thought we had a pretty good shot at a inland dredging grant from the Department of Environmental Protection, but there were 44 other towns applying for a small pot of funds, and unfortunately our application didn't make it. So in terms of the progress of the project, we've applied for the permits, have received actually approval from the Hatfield Conservation Commission, and we are expecting within the next 30 days approval by the Army Corps through the Department of Environmental Protection for the project. We've completed design for the project. Now, in terms of its purpose, it's not just a fishing pond. It's a great spot. Those of you who attend the fishing derby each year know where it is, and what we're trying to do is encourage more use of the pond, passive use recreation. It's a very nice spot, and it certainly adds to the recreational inventory for the town.
Brian, I'm sorry.
Yep. No.
Could you just speak to the limited scope that we can use CPC funds for, so people understand there's only dedicated purposes that we can use them for?
I'm not the expert here. Perhaps someone from the Community Preservation Committee, if they're in the room, could explain that we are that the town is restricted in the use of these funds, and they're not available for general purpose.
Right.
It's for historical recreation, open space. Those are the ones I know.
Housing.
Affordable housing.
Housing.
Sure,
Right.
if you'd like.
Good evening, Steve Tlemcen, Depot Road, the chair of the Community Preservation Committee following the long tenure of Bob Wagner and the very accomplished tenure of John Wilkes. So I'm the guy. This, specifically to this article, the inland dredging project that Mr. Nicholas said didn't come through, and so the plan had been to, if that didn't come through, to then appropriate the funds for the dredging, since we're kind of already all in on a not inexpensive project. Yeah, the categories, because the original law from 2008 didn't allow for the creation of recreational resources, and that got duked out in Newton and got changed so that you can create recreational resources now. But because of that original writing of the law, it was for historic resources or preservation, community housing initiatives, and open space as exemplified by the 2017 Horse Mountain acquisition by the town. And then for other things that fall appropriately under, as applications come through, we look at those, and if it is a gray area or a question mark, we utilize some of the administrative expenses through purchasing access to the Community Preservation Coalition, and we get technical answers from them on what's okay and what's not. Some of the articles that we've just voted up involve that Article 97, which was strongly emphasized this year to allow for the preservation in perpetuity of things like the Smith Academy Park as a park in the capacity of a park and not being under some future governing body becoming a parking lot or something other than what we say it is as this voting body tonight. Is that enough info? Or? Okay.
Thank you. Joe.
Something that I always like to try to remind people is the CPC, starting with Bob Wagner and all the other individuals, serve an incredible purpose because they try to help fund things that we can do that won't hit our budgets, but yet when they come up, they make us dot every I and cross every T, and it's so frustrating when you're applying, but there's a purpose for it. Because the state has so many rules about accessing funds. Well, we get matching state funds for whenever a CPC, something is voted through. I know in many years, when I was younger, we'd get somewhere around 93, 94 cents for every dollar we vote back from the state. For all the things we're doing here, we're getting, the way they follow this, somewhere between 85 and 90 cents on the dollar of what we vote through back from the state. And right now, it's really hard to get money from the state because of all their rules. So when we talk about these things, it's not this full amount of money coming from our budget. It's not hitting us. Maybe 10% of it is hitting us. But we're getting a lot of projects and improving our town in a tremendous way with very little effort to us. And yet in many cases, and again, I'll talk, like on the cemetery ones, this money not only comes back from the state, but with the help we have from our DPW, they're able to do a lot of this work themselves. So the money stays within our town, it stays within our budgets, and it's like we win on both sides of this, and we get a lot of improvements without raising our tax rate. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I thank the CPC for what you do, because you work really hard at it. So thank you.
We had 3 hands in rapid fire, so.
Lori Picard, I live on Lindsay Road. For 30 years, our family lived in another town, and through a friendship my husband made with someone in this town, he started going to the fishing derbies with our children at Day Pond. I had no idea where it was either until I discovered you come in this parking lot and it's back over there somewhere. Last year, my husband came with my son and my grandsons, so I have a very special place in my heart for this place, and I really look forward to it being a beautiful place that can continue in the future.
Adam.
Hi, Adam Sullivan, Main Street. So, in my opinion, Day Pond's more of a puddle than a pond. It's not naturally occurring. From my time on capital planning, I think that we had documentation that there's like a small wooden dam in there that blocks up a stream that makes this thing that gets a little bit of spring water and through April and May, and then it gets smaller and hotter, and everything pretty much dies in the summer. It's a fishing pond 1 day per year. I have great memories of going to the fishing derby as a kid. I'm sure we have other sites in town that would be great for hosting a fishing derby. I know Dr. Driscoll, our superintendent, would like to be able to use it for his fly fishing club, but I know he also currently uses Mr. Vollinger's pasture along the Mill River, and I think that's probably a more enjoyable and certainly a better fishing experience than Day Pond. I just don't think this is a good use of $91,700 to revitalize a pond that shouldn't be there to begin with. And I think that we could come up with better uses of that money to preserve and beautify our town. I do have a question for the Community Preservation Committee. How much money to date has the committee ever spent on affordable housing?
On what?
Affordable housing is one of the things that CPC is required to do.
So the night of tough questions. So yes, it is a regret that applications haven't come through very often. There was an application to have a rental support program for a 99-year lease situation for Elm Village, Elm Street. Can you, Seth, help me? Hatfield, yes, for Hatfield Village. That was voted down by townspeople on the town floor. And there is a great need for that. It's no one's fault. It's something we all have to work on. We're not, however, robbing Peter to pay Paul. The maxim for the Community Preservation Act is it's restricted funds for restricted purposes. So no money, not any cent, has been taken from housing to help further along the Day Pond project and the 91,000 and change that's before us tonight for the dredging, for the grant that didn't come through. We're looking forward to, and there's been kind of some indications that some applications will be coming forward for this year. The application deadline is November 1st. It's also the kind of stance of the committee that if something came in a kind of a tardy fashion, because this is such a designated high social value, and many people see it as a social value, that we'd be very flexible within that time frame. There was maybe some Habitat for Humanity goings on, but it didn't come through. So the applications haven't come through, and we look forward to receiving them.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, Stephanie Slish, this is me on the planning board, and was on the comprehensive plan committee. It is a charge of the committee. The comprehensive plan committee says that we need, and the state law actually says we need to expand our affordable housing. And so part of the comprehensive plan committee was to establish relationships with Habitat for Humanity and other affordable housing communities. So I, as planning board chair, I reached out, and they're very interested in building a home or a multifamily home in Hatfield. So just waiting for the right type of parcel to come, if anybody's listening, to work on having a partnership so that we could utilize some of the CPA funds for affordable housing that is earmarked for that, and something that I think the town, based on the comprehensive plan, should be open to. And so there could be something in the future, but stay tuned. We're working on it and trying to build those relationships as a part of the planning board with the assistant town planner as well.
Yep. I know you've been waiting patiently.
I would just like a little clarification on how much of a match we get on our CPA dollars. This is not free money. We pay for these projects, and the state matches some of our dollars. So I just want people to know that it's not free, folks. These are our tax dollars.
Amy Hahn, 19 School Street. I formerly served on the CPC, and the money comes from, we voted long ago to be part of this program. We put in 3% on our taxes. We do that because we voted to be part of the CPC program, CPA program. That money is taken out every year. The state gives us a match for what is taken out of our taxes every year. And Hatfield gets one of the highest matches in the whole state. It's 80 or 90%. This is a huge amount of state money, and it is dedicated to the things that were spoken about. It can only be spent on those projects that are either housing or recreation, and I'm trying to remember because it's been a while, but it's not money that can be spent anywhere. And I think the Day Pond is a wonderful project. Day Pond is, we have the fishing derby. And as I remember, we had some CPC grant. We were going to build some paths back there, walking paths that would take you down near the pond. And we've already spent some money on it. We might as well follow through and finish it up.
Okay. And after Steve, we're going to go ahead and move this question.
I'll just speak to the match exactly. It's in the town report. We used to get, in the heyday, a very high match. I'll read what's in the town report. In November, Hatfield received $149,685 from the Commonwealth Community Preservation Trust Fund. This is a 62% match of local CPA receipts. The state's revenue for the trust fund has dropped significantly. Therefore, all towns have received lower than the 80% plus match. We're not doing anything differently. We were just living early on from 2008 in this golden period. The fact that it's people are paying in at 3%. Other towns didn't pass the Community Preservation Act or funded at 2 or 1%. The 3% helps, our other demographics help, and the fact that we're down to 62% is not great, but it's reality, and it is nothing that is changeable that I know about, and it's just still not bad, I guess, if you want to look at the glass half full on that. But 62% was the least, the latest match amount.
Okay. Yeah, real quick, and then like I said, we want to move the question.
As far as Dapon, I think you also have to realize this project started a few years ago. We did the quality testing. It came in front of the town, and I know that the Fish and Game and others went in front of the CPC, and the CPC said, okay, we'll give you some funding and try to get a grant. Marlene with Brian Nicholas, they worked on trying to get some additional funding for that project, and there wasn't any. So this is like the last phase of the project. We're halfway there. There's been a lot of permitting required by the state, by the EPA, and actually any of the dredging permits have to go through Boston. So we had to hire the firm in order to get that done. So now you have a project that's over halfway done. This is the final piece that the town had voted on last year to approve. So I hope you can approve this last piece. And the fishing derby's been there when I was a kid, when my kids were there, and my grandkids are there, so it's been there since whatever. So I just hope you do approve this last piece so we can bring that pond back to life.
Okay, so all those in favor of Article number 32, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 32 passes.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 33.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up Article number 33 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from Community Preservation Historic Resources Reserve Account upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee a sum of $40,000 to restore and rehabilitate the Cutter Farm Museum Barn, siding and roofing, such project to be under the guidance of the Select Board, Hatfield Historic Commission, and Department of Public Works, and said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article number 33. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of Article 33, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 33 is passed.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 34.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up Article number 34 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve Account upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee the sum of $48,000 to install for recreational open space and historical purposes the new Oliver Smith Park within the Main Street Cemetery, it being the intent of the town to dedicate the said Oliver Smith Park as land protected under Article 97
of the Massachusetts Constitution, such project to be under the guidance of the Hatfield Select Board, Recreation Committee, Cemetery Commission, and the Department of Public Works, and said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under Article number 34. Is there any discussion?
Scott Myers, Pantry Road. What exactly are they going to use this for? What is this park in the middle of a cemetery?
Joe.
For $48,000. Thank you.
Joe's going to tell us.
Being the cemetery caretaker, I guess I can say in a humorous way, I know where the bodies are buried. But in reality, I'm trying to come up with a way to help the next generations. Look at the cost of burials today. You buy a 4-foot by 10-foot section to put a burial in, and that's $550. Now that's lower than anywhere around. And currently, you can buy a plot, but you have to be somehow related to this town. You went to school here, you voted here, you paid rent here, you owned a home here. But I allow it so you can put in a number of cremains in one plot. It's not limited to 1 or 2. The problem is there's a lot of people that just have 1 or 2 members in their family, and they want to buy this whole plot, but I'm trying to find for the next generation, I'll be long gone, but a way to be able to put in a small cremains burial for maybe $200, and a way to accomplish that. So working with the CPC, trying to come up with an idea. If you look at Main Street Cemetery, there's that small green space in the front with a paved road around it, and I've been protecting that for a lot of years. And the idea is that if we could put in some walkways and pathways and maybe a nice flag and a few bushes, that along these pathways, eventually you or your children looking for a spot can buy one little spot and have a little box in there, and you can have your cremains and have a granite tablet on top with your name and information. It'll help reduce the cost of end-of-life burials for a lot of people. So to accomplish that, and going to the CPC and trying to get, now I guess it's 62% state reimbursal rate, the idea is that they need a historical reason for doing it. And all I could think about is Sophia Smith, everybody knows. Smith College, everybody knows that. But her cousin was Oliver Smith. Now, he's buried right here in Main Street, but he started Smith Vocational School. And Smith Voc has taught over 100,000 or more individuals in all sorts of trades. He never had children. He's the only guy buried in his spot. And yet, he's never been highlighted. He's a Hatfield born and bred person who gave back everything. And we've never honored him. Well, part of the program is if we can make a little walkway up and around Eyeball where there could be a flag and maybe a plaque with his name on it, that would constitute of the Oliver Smith Park, just that little eyeball walkway in the shape of a exclamation point, I suppose. And then the next article is the one that would help us fill in around that to finish off this burial spot. We can't make the park take in cremains burials along it. But if we can make this whole park with this one thing in his honor and have him memorialized, we can have the rest of the walkways allow all these burials along there, and it probably could take as much as 200 burials in there. That would carry our town for a long way without further taxing our cemeteries for one little bit of cremains in a 4-foot by 8-foot section. So this would come to being now. So there's like $68,000 here with 62% reimbursal, and we can accomplish something for people well past my time. I mean, I do this for nothing. I take care of and I rehabbed all 5 of our cemeteries for all these years, and I keep trying to think about how can it help our people, all of us, in the future at the lowest cost possible. And if I can get this done with 62% reimbursal rate, it's a bonus for the future, for your kids, for your families, to be able to inter your family members a whole lot less expensively than even what we do now. So that's the goal of what I'm doing, and I hope I answered that gentleman's question. Thank you.
Scott, are you coming back up? Yep.
I thank you very much for clarifying that. The only question I had is, it's a great thing to bury ashes, but as far as I know, it's probably illegal. I just buried my father, and you have to have him ashes can't be buried. They have to be in an actual cement box. I mean, it's a great idea, but I don't think it's going to work as far as, and isn't that a cemetery we could sell the lots? Why are we spending money as taxpayers to make a space, which may or may not be even legal to use for that purpose? There should be somebody study to make sure it can be. It's a great idea, but I'm not sure if you actually can use it for that.
Yep. Joe, you want to clarify?
And I'll answer your question. There are many people around the world that they go scatter ashes somewhere, and yes, in the written word, it's illegal. But in reality, you have to be the ashes are supposed to be in some kind of a container. What I'm looking at for the price of this is that you buy, say, this little square piece of property, which would help reimburse the town in the future for, say, $100, but they make little cement boxes made by Wilbert Company, who makes the cement boxes for your coffins right now. They make small boxes, they're $90. And then you put your little headstone on top. So you can do that. There's also the option. The law doesn't say what a container is. So the reality is I've had some people say, my husband died, I have his ashes, and our favorite place to go was on a beach in Maine, and we have this beach bag. Can I put his ashes in the beach bag? Of course you can. It's a containment. So they put it in the ground and it's buried, and that's perfectly legal. That's fine. You don't have to be in a cement case. Ironically, I had one woman who was one of the funniest ladies I know, and I won't use her name in town, but she said, can I put my ashes in something? And I said, sure. Well, when I went there, I help these families, and I dig the hole and I put them in. Well, she put her ashes in a small can of chock full of nuts, coffee. Now, I was so proud of this woman because she so laughed at and enjoyed life, and her grandson was there, and he said she wanted that all this time. So there is a way to accomplish that without breaking a law, the written letter of the law. So I've looked into it at great length, and yes, we can do this. So I think for $200, somebody can put their little have the cement box put in, put their ashes in it, and put a cover on it, and we're perfectly fine. Thank you.
Steve. I love seeing our future voters come into the room.
Steve Tlemcen, Depot Road again. Thank you for the reminder. So when Joe applied, we did some head scratching, and we knew that there are certain technical constraints with you can't create something historic. You can't create something historic in a cemetery. You can't, the term is establish a new asset. Under historic, all you can do is acquire something, preserve it, or restore and rehabilitate it in terms of the restricted use of Community Preservation Act monies. So what we did with Joe's idea that you've heard poetically rendered here, we carved it in two. We can create a new park that's okay. And so the area that Joe's talking about, he and I were there, and it's going to need to be described, this exclamation point park. It would be the idea, just a nice hardscape walkway right along Billings Way. It looks like it wants to be there, frankly, but there would be no cremains on the park. So the article before us is it's going to be a park in the capacity of a contemplation walking, small, but I mean, there are cities with very small, parks. So it would be a small park, and the cremains area that Joe is talking about is surrounding it, and we can work on that as a town if we vote forward on the next article, that we can restore and rehabilitate the surrounds of the park, and that is the area in which some cremains opportunities would happen. The park would be for, nothing happens under the park. The park will be just for that walking and contemplation and beautifying purpose. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of article number 34, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Article 34 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 35.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up article number 35 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to appropriate by transfer from the Community Preservation Historic Resources Reserve account, upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, a sum of $20,000 to restore and rehabilitate the walkways, fencing, and other historical features in the Main Street Cemetery. Such project to be under the guidance of the Select Board, Hatfield Cemetery, Historical Commission, and DPW, Department of Public Works, and said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under article number 35. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of article number 35, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 35 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move we take up Article 36.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up article number 36 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Gagnon.
I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaws of the town by adding Article 17, construction and post-construction stormwater management, as set forth in the annual town meeting warrant.
You've heard the motion made and seconded in article number 36. Is there any discussion? And again, I know this is in the handout, so we'll give you a moment on that. Okay. If there's no discussion on article number 36, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Article 36 is passed.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Jaworski.
I move we take up Article 37.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up article number 37 as in your handout.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Jaworski.
I move that the town vote to amend the Town of Hatfield zoning bylaws, Section 3.4.4, accessory dwelling units of the Hatfield zoning bylaws as set forth in the annual town meeting warrant.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under article number 37. Is there any discussion? Good. If not, all those in favor of article number 37, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Article 37 is passed.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move we take up Article 38.
The motion has been made and seconded to take up article number 38 is in your handout.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Zinal.
I move that the town vote to hear any and all reports which have to do with the welfare of the town.
Second.
You've heard the motion made and seconded under article number 38. Is there any discussion? And I'll start with Diana.
I just wanted to let townspeople know, last year, some of you might be aware that there was a piece of legislation filed to legalize golf carts, the use of golf carts on public ways in Hatfield. The legislation did not pass in the last legislative session, which means it basically dies. State Representative Lindsay Sabadosa refiled that legislation in this new session. It is House 3775. It's an act relative to the town of Hatfield permitting use of golf carts on the public ways of the town. This afternoon, the Joint Committee on Transportation had a hearing on this bill. Some folks from the town of Hatfield, including myself, Chief DeKoschak, Andrew, and Anna Holhut, virtually testified at this hearing in support of this legislation. It doesn't mean that it's going to move quickly, but it is moving. So, you know, we'll continue to stay on top of that. But that has been refiled. It is, you know, back on the docket for the Joint Committee of Transportation. So I just want to just let people know that, and also thank and acknowledge Representative Sabadosa for filing this home rule petition on behalf of the town of Hatfield. So stay tuned on that one. It is not dead.
Any other discussion? And with announcements. So with that, before we conclude, you know, as we have in the past, I do want to just, you know, take a moment of silence. First, for all those currently serving in our military, you know, that they can return home safely. For our veterans and all of those who have passed, you know, as we've heard, unfortunately, we've lost and we continue to lose many great people from the town, people who have really made this town the great place that it is. And town employees and that. So each year, unfortunately, we do lose many more. And then also for our public servants and our emergency services. So if we can just take a moment and honor and remember those. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
I move that the 2025 annual town meeting be dissolved.
Hey, before you do that, I do want one thing. I would like to once again, thank all of our town employees, everyone who was on a board committee and serves for the town of Hatfield. I also want to recognize John Novak and his team. They do a phenomenal job here this evening, but also throughout the year. So if we can just give them a quick round of applause. And then lastly, please remember next Tuesday, May 20th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., voting at Town Hall. Please do turn out. You know, it's just like tonight, it's a critical part of the process. So I appreciate that. Thank you all. And with that, I hereby dissolve this annual town meeting.